Hi everybody, this is Toffee bringing you my updated Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones 100% growth Eirika route for recruitment LTC. This is a small update to my old run that achieves the turn floor, and I'm commentating it to make it worth people's time. Under the constraints of LTCing, many games develop a particular identity, and FE8 is very strongly about EXP and weapon rank management, achieved through copious RNG abuse. The prologue of FE8 is a kill boss map, and the boss only moves if we kill both of his lackeys on turn 1. Eirika needs a crit to kill the first one, which we get for free. We anti-rig Set's crit on the other one because I decided to go for S swords on Set as a flex in this run. With both enemies dead, the boss decides to get moving and dies on Set's blade. That's prologue in one turn. Chapter 1 is only slightly less trivial, being a siege map. I should go over our first two units. Eirika is our loud, and she starts off pretty weak and frail, but her trusty rapier lets her crit any enemy she needs to kill. We do want to train her to make certain clears work. Seth is the infamous Jagan of FE8 with busted bases and double A ranks in swords and lances, but he actually will be sandbagged so we can feed EXP to our many growth units who need training. Even after they come online, he will still do things as an 8-move unit with competent combat, and as mentioned earlier, he will go for S swords. Seth is so powerful that we can use the basic strategy of just having him carry Eirika to the gate in this map. However, we suspend Rick to adjust the fighter stats so that Seth doesn't one-shot them with the steel sword. This is so we can feed them to our new cavalier, Franz. Franz has met basis but is highly available and will go on to become our best physical combat unit. We need him to promote by chapter 7, but there's enough EXP in the early game to actually get him to level 12 before then, which puts him head and shoulders above Seth. This is the only turn in the whole run that he uses a sword. The soldier he chips down doesn't become aggressive until he is attacked. We want him to be put at low HP so the nearby enemies all suicide into him, giving him a large amount of EXP. Sats drops Eirika there so she can kill the enemy soldier with a crit and chip the fighter, while he himself gets to face a round of combat with the boss. We need Eirika to dodge the soldier to ensure the other one goes for Franz. Our other new unit is Gilliam the Ammonite, and his contributions consist of killing one enemy in chapter 2 and a couple of rescue drops. Since we get some money at the end of this chapter, I should mention that on Eirika route we do want to save our money up for a big shopping trip at the end of the mid game. It's not as big of a deal as in FE6, but we don't want to simply burn it for no reason. As you saw there, I rigged Seth to miss his first attack, because in this playthrough I do get pretty neurotic about weapon rank management. Franz himself is going to go for S lances, which is why you'll see him use lances a lot. That's chapter 1 in 3 turns. Chapter 2 is a route map and is infamous among people who have tried LTCing this game. We get two new units, Vanessa, the Pegasus Knight, who is our first flyer and will do many things on the front lines in this playthrough. But as of right now, she's not very strong, and yet she needs to fight brigands on peaks on this map. Our other new unit is Mulder, the Priest. Vanessa doesn't really have hard stat benchmarks on Eirika route, but since she faces so much combat, we want to maximize her stats anyway. Mulder comes with 4 magic and C rank staves, and we need him to have 12 magic and A rank staves by chapter 16. He does have a little leeway with his training, but not much, so I make it a point to maximize his staff usage. As of right now, all he can do is use heal. Our units start pretty far back, so only Vanessa can get to combat on turn 1. We rescue drop Franz forward so he can actually see some action on this map. The two NPC units are Garcia and Ross, and they will join us at the end of this map as long as they survive. Ross is a trainee, and on this route he doesn't do anything significant. Garcia is slightly more useful, but not by much. As a fighter with high con, he can help with some rescue dropping, and he gets used as a flunky on a couple of maps to give other units a staff target. On this map, they need to kill the brigand and the archer on the right, since we can't get anybody over there. Eirika visits the top villages on this map to net us a red gem and an elixir, both of which will just be money to us. Vanessa set up that brigand to be easy pickings for Franz, and the damage she took gives Mulder his first heal target. Franz's skill gets him another level up. And now we get to the first silly rig. We want Vanessa to crit and dodge the boss with questionable reliability, to say the least. And then we rig a pretty unlikely enemy phase where Vanessa chips both brigands down while avoiding being hit. Seth and Gilliam move a little closer to the mountains on the left to handle a couple of brigands who are going to reinforce in. Franz can't double quite yet, so he needs a crit to kill that brigand. His level up on the previous turn gives Mulder a heal target on this turn. And now it's time for another rig. Gilliam can kill one of the brigands with a sick 12 hit 2 crit javelin crit. As I've said elsewhere, reliability is a liability. That perfectly lines up the RNG for Vanessa to crit the right brigand and dodge the counter, putting both the boss and him in kill range for enemy phase. Vanessa needs to dodge 1 out of 2 attacks on enemy phase. We rig the enemy phase so Vanessa, Seth, and NPCs can hit and kill their respective targets to complete Chapter 2 in 3 turns. The sad part is that this might not even be the worst clear of the run overall. Chapter 3 is another Seas map, and once again, the basic strategy will be to have Seth carry Eirika to the throne. There are some walls in his way, a recruitable character, and EXP to manage. FE8's overworld map lets us complete our shopping off the hectic chapters, and our first armory here importantly lets us buy javelins, giving all of our lance units 1 to 2 range. We also buy a slim sword for an occasion or two where we deliberately want to reduce our attack power. We get a new unit, Nami, the Archer. She does exactly 2 things in this run, both in this chapter. She helps chip down the first wall, and Franz tears it down the rest of the way. The next obstacle on the critical path is that Brigand, and Eirika is well placed to take him out. And thanks to her EXP management, she gets a level up here, giving Mulder a turn 1 heal target. This heal by Mulder is the reason we tore the wall down from 2 range, so he could stand there. Seth takes Eirika and opens the door to let that brigand out. Turn 2 sees the arrival of Colm the Thief. Recruiting him is the second and last relevant thing Nami does for this playthrough. Colm isn't an EXP target, but the Thief class has a number of quirky properties that let him do things for us all the way until Chapter 8. Since we aren't training Ross on this route, we can afford to feed more EXP to Vanessa. Our Brigand rolled up on speed, meaning Colm doesn't double him, which makes Colm look really bad for being in a supposedly speedy class. Seth carrying Eirika weighs himself down to the point where he doesn't double these enemies, letting him set up kills for Franz and Vanessa. We have a disgustingly long rig here, because we need to rig Vanessa to crit the enemy thief on enemy phase for juicy EXP. Vanessa's EXP is being optimized to this extent because she actually has to sacrifice some of her future EXP gain in later maps to help other characters who need it more. Mulder positioned himself there to bait over the North Brigand, both for the EXP dust he himself gets, and so he can be killed later. Garcia deliberately whiffed that attack just to give Mulder a heal target while still having him end his turn on the pillar. Seth drops Eirika in position to seize and canters back so he's in range of the brigands who will attack Mulder. Eirika needs a crit to kill that mercenary. Seth breaks out the Slimcer to make sure he gets 2 attacks in, just to optimize his sword rank. And Vanessa whiffs her first attack for the same reason. France's boss kill with the Iron Lance is comically unreliable, but trying to hit S Lances before Chapter 15 requires sacrificing any concerns about the subject. I get this support just because, why not? Eirika seizes, and that will be Chapter 3 in 4 turns. Chapter 4 is a route map, making it a juicy EXP allocation problem. We get Artem, the monk, and he's a very important EXP target. We want him to hit 24 magic and A staves as a bishop by Chapter 16, which, as a first step, will require him to hit level 12 during Chapter 8. This is a pretty tall ask, so he'll be doing some sketchy things to maximize his EXP intake. Franz missed on purpose to maximize his EXP and weapon EXP. Home was brought to give Mulder a turn 1 heal target. We actually don't have the time to visit the top village, but it's just an iron axe, so who cares? We do a disgustingly long rig because we want Archer to crit both the moguls that go for him on enemy phase. Vanessa takes the enemies in the bottom left since only she can get to them in time. She crossed the line, which will trigger some reinforcements near the top left corner. Seth is the only unit who can get to the boss in time. Holmes' chip also sets up that enemy to be cleanly killed by Eirika. We're gonna see the top left reinforcements to her owing to the lack of other significant EXP targets. Richard gets his first level up here. Even if Franz hadn't been chipped, his level up would have given Mulder his heal target for this turn. Because Archer crit both moguls, he can walk down and hijack some of the center enemies who would otherwise have needed to suicide into Seth. Seth is the only unit who can reach that critical square to bait over the boss, and he has to use a javelin because of the mogul nearby. We intentionally got Eirika hit there so that the enemies nearby would go for her rather than the flunkies we deployed to chip the other monsters down. The one Eirika attacked normally would wait a turn before becoming aggressive, but attacking him gets him to aggro right away. Vanessa does another silly rig to ensure Arthur crits the two full HP Revenants who attack him on this turn. She visited the village to recruit loot. This isn't necessary. Loot auto-joins at the end of the map and she doesn't even get any EXP here, but I thought it was cute to do since it doesn't cost us anything and loot herself is going to be relevant to this run. She has bad bases and giants at level 1, but we need her to save a turn in chapter 18. She's, she's basically the Eirika route equivalent to training Ras. As a first step, we need her to promote for chapter 11. She has a nice C anima at base, but her anima rank is completely irrelevant to what we want her to eventually do for us. Archer's enemy phase is precarious, needing to dodge quite a few attacks. And that is the last bit of EXP Eirika earns before the route split begins. Archer does get his next level up, which will let him cleanly one round the Mogul that will attack him. Franz has no issues killing those Bone Walkers over there with his Iron Lance. And with all this, we complete chapter 4 in 2 turns. Chapter 5, Victim Boss. With the boss waiting in the top right corner, we have a recruitment to take care of and want to visit all the villages, all the while maximizing our EXP gain. We start off by suspend rigging the boss's stats down so Franz can 2-round him, while also ensuring the enemy's Arthur phases get killed by him in the right number of rounds of combat. We get a new unit, Natasha the Cleric, who has D staves at base. Natasha is actually irrelevant after this chapter, but you'll see her deployed because I originally wanted her to hit C staves by chapter 16. However, I came up with a way to not need her for that map, so she'll just exist, use some staves, and then eventually disappear. She brings us her first men staff, which she'll hand off to Mulder immediately since he's the more relevant unit. Arthur will take the corridor to kill the enemies he can reach there. He doesn't one-round the fighter, but he doesn't want to since he can get extra chip EXP that way. Archer's tome uses are also relevant. We want to set up a 1-use lightning tome and a 3-use lightning tome for future shenanigans with him. This map is also the start of Lute's training arc, and we'll feed her a couple of brigands who reinforce in later. Franz and Seth got her forward since they have free actions. The actual village rewards aren't too important in and of themselves, but we want to visit all of them to get a guiding ring at the end of the chapter so Arthur can promote at the right time. Franz needed to get hit by that fighter to get the soldier to go for him. Seth used the slim sword to have good hit rate on the fighter and on Joshua, the myrmidon, though a steel sword probably could have worked just as well. Eirika will spend this entire chapter walking to the southeast village, which has a Draco shield, while Vanessa will handle the two at the top, which have a torch and a secret book. The last one will be visited by Seth. Mulder went to the left to get attacked by the soldier, who will continue to harass him for the rest of the map. He needs to dodge either on turn 1 or on turn 2. Speaking of Joshua, he's the myrmidon. He doesn't really do anything for us this run. Natasha needs to talk to him to recruit him. Archer's level up guarantees Mulder's mend on turn 2, which gives Mulder himself his first level up. Archer started with an abysmal E rank in light magic and just climbed up to D. He does get some light EXP on promotion and needs to hit B light by chapter 18, which isn't that hard. Brigands who reinforced in rolled a bit high on the bulk side, letting Loot get 2 rounds of chip in on this map. Franz once again deliberately missed to get EXP. The final village is visited by Seth because he can't do anything productive this turn anyway, and gets us the Armor Slayer, which I think is used on one map. Garcia and Seth block off Natasha and Joshua from the soldier to ensure that he will go for France. France really grows a lot this map. I think he earns 4 level ups. It helps that he doesn't have to get sidetracked by other objectives. Because the brigands are very bulky, we want Garcia to help chip one of them down with the hatchet so that Loot can actually kill him. However, Loot needs to be put at low HP to get them to still suicide into her. Joshua getting hit on turn 1 gives Mulder his final mend target, while also being in position to let Natasha heal him up. Natasha uses mend for this because the staff rank plan I made for her required her to get 1 mend use in, and this was a convenient time for it. Archer crits the mercenary for 1 more kill on this map. And Seth uses his last turn to visit the arena, where he will use swords because he has more weapon EXP with that weapon. I just gave him his first max EXP fight that would let him win, instead of trying to find one that was also good for sword rank. Since he isn't at full HP, he actually has some issues winning in the arena against a max leveled opponent, but he gets some lucky dodges against this Sage. Nessa visits the final village and canters into a position where one of the fighters who moves later in the turn blocks her off from the other one, ensuring that he will go for France, who needs the kill. On the last enemy phase, Loot needs to dodge and kills the 2 enemies who attack her. Vanessa will need a Slimlance crit to kill the 1 fighter who will attack her, and Franz just needs to land his attacks. And that will complete the map in 3 turns. It's time for diversion. Chapter 5x is a chapter from Ephron's point of view, where we need him to seize a throne in the center of the map, but in reality, this map is more important to us for EXP management. Ephron has 3 buddies, Kyle and Ford the Cavaliers, and Arson the Paladin. Of these units, only one of them will be important in the long term. We start by suspend rigging some enemy stats to make things more conducive to our EXP gain. Ford and Arson effectively start a couple of squares behind Kyle on the critical path. Ford gets to kill the soldier in the way with the steel sword, before being rescue dropped forward by the other mounts to gain a square over Kyle. We wanted him to get damage to ensure the other soldier would suicide into him. Since we're playing Eirika's route, Ephron will vanish for most of the game, so he's not gonna be super relevant. And Arson is a temporary unit who outright leaves the party after this chapter. Kyle and Ford both have mediocre bases, Ford in particular, which has been the subject of much memeing. But we need one of them to be a paladin for chapter 14. Importantly, we also need a cavalry unit with 16 aid for Chapter 12, which unpromoted Ford has, but not Kyle. This is significant because even Seth, who would be the logical candidate for the job in Chapter 12, has only 14 aid. The nature of 5x also just lends itself to training Ford more than Kyle as a practical matter. This clear has been optimized to maximize Ford's EXP gain to the maximum extent possible, which turns out to be a lot, involving copious RNG abuse. Kyle is much less important since he's only relevant to a couple of maps, but his EXP gain is still micromanaged because we want him to level up at a specific time in the future to give someone a staff target. On turn 2, I had Ephraim chip down the Merc with the Javelin for EXP management reasons that you'll see in a bit, though in hindsight I shouldn't have done that. Arson kills the fighter to kill the path forward. Since Arson started this turn furthest behind, Kyle and Ford rescue drop in forward, letting him reach a square he could never have normally reached on turn 2, which eventually translates to getting the optimal clear. We had him equip the Steel Lance so as to not double and one round that Cavalier. The reason we had Ephraim chip the Merc instead of Arson is that because then Ford doesn't quite kill him, letting us squeeze in an extra round of combat. Ford needs to dodge one of the attacks that went for him on turn 2 enemy phase. On turn 3, since the Cavalier is in the way, Ford takes him out, getting his first level up. We then do a disgusting rig because he needs to dodge the archer and countercrit him to death on enemy phase, since he will run out of the archer's range on the next turn. The problem here is also that there just isn't space to burn RNs efficiently. So even though I spent a lot of time burning RNs, it's not the case that this is the largest RN burn of the round or anything of the sort. Kyle and Arson rescue drop Ephraim forward to let him put in some work with the Redden Leaf, his personal weapon that absolutely mauls Armor Knights and Cavalry. Ephraim is a perfectly serviceable unit, and in 100% growth Ephraim route, he has very little issue facing the combat that he needs to. It's just that on this particular route, he doesn't exist in the early game, he doesn't exist in the mid game, and in the late game, well, you'll see. There's not that much room for him to do stuff in the late game, though I do use him on a couple of maps just for the fun of it. Arson's Steel Lance kept him from doubling and killing that Cavalier. The fighter is perfectly in position for Ford to pick off with the Javelin crit while being in range of the other Cavalier on the right. This gets Ford his second level up already, but his quest to gain EXP through sketchy means is far from over. We equip the Steel Sword for enemy phase since we want him to have some more might while not being weighed down as much as the Steel Lance would. Kyle just goes down to help clear Arson's way for next turn. Ford obviously needs to dodge the attacks that go for him, but he needed the Steel Sword specifically in order to double the second Cavalier to do enough damage to him. Arson used the Iron Sword to avoid killing that fighter. And that sets him up to be killed by Ford. The nature of this map lets Ford do all this, while Kyle is only now getting his first kill on the Shaman blocking the corridor. The mage and the fighter in the left treasure room both have chest keys. We don't strictly need them, but they're nice to have. The upcoming enemy phase is once more highly questionable, with Ford needing to dodge a bunch of enemies while landing hits back with the javelin in order to kill them. The reason I said the XP optimization with the Merc was questionable is that on the upcoming turn, Ford will have a choice of 2 units to kill. He could have killed the fighter in the treasure room and gotten us the chest key, which I don't end up having him do this run because that would actually let Ford get to level 10 exactly. and we want him to end this chapter just short of a level up uh, to get a future turn 1 staff target. So what I could have done is have him just kill the Merc and kill the fighter, and that would have achieved the same result while also getting me a chest key and probably being more sensible to rig. Who needs a 1% crit because his base skill is actually pretty low. Orson will kill the boss, and Ephraim will relieve him of the last of his inventory before seizing, completing the map in 6 turns. Chapter 6 sees us going back to Eirika's squad for a kill boss map with Fog of War. The boss is stationary, and getting to him for the fastest clear requires Vanessa to drop Boss Killer in. While we do this, we, as usual, will be abusing the RNG to hell and back to optimize our EXP gain. Since it's a Fog of War map, we go and buy ourselves a Torch Staff for Natasha and Mulder to spam, and we also buy Archer some more Lightning Domes since his current one is getting rather low on uses. Something that I should mention is Lute's 3 con. She is so light that even basic fire tomes weigh her down. However, that abysmal con of hers does let Eirika carry her, which we'll use a couple of times. Here, it lets her use the torch and then get picked up, preserving her maximal vision range for next turn. Seth picks up Archer so Vanessa can drop him forward for a big enemy phase, and Seth himself will be picked up by Garcia since Seth is the only unit free to kill the boss on this chapter. Comb makes for the village which has the antitoxin, mostly because it doesn't cost me anything to get, and nominally we are trying to maximize our money. Franz will take the entire bottom right part of the map since he doesn't need to help with the main clear, allowing him to farm all the remaining EXP he needs. This really long rig, keep in mind that I speed up RN burns by 16x. This really long rig is because we want Vanessa to dodge the first soldier that goes for her, and for Archer to survive the enemies who will dogpile onto him. She hits C lances here. Franz has some issues landing both hits on that mercenary with the iron lance because he's under forest, even though he does have weapon triangle advantage. Franz is now technically ready to promote, but he needs to handle some very intense combat later on, which is why he'll keep going. Archer needs a crit to kill this Ironblade Cavalier, since he does not two-shot him. By the end of this enemy phase, we also need Archer to be put at very low HP. Archer also needed a crit to kill this soldier since he was just short of one-rounding him. And now, because Archer is at really low HP and Vanessa is at maximal HP, this Archer chooses to go for Archer in the hopes of killing him. And this gets Archer a little bit of extra EXP that does end up being really important. The reason Mulder and Natasha stayed near the center of the map is because we want to expose the area Franz is going to move to in order to optimize his EXP gain. Since Lute spent the last turn in Eirika's saddlebags, her maximum vision was preserved, and this lets her expose the Troubadour so Archer can kill her, which is good for his EXP and also gets us an elixir. Garcia is the only unit who could hand off Seth here since Gilliam can't walk on mountains and nobody else at this point can rescue Seth. I guess Franz can, but Franz needs to be farming EXP. This miss I rigged on the Shaman is mostly me being neurotic about Lance rank. Franz doesn't need it for his EXP gain. We do want to either chip the Shaman down to low HP or outright kill him on turn 2 player phase though, because we need him to either be dead or move very quickly, move like ahead in the movement order. Franz needed a crit to kill this Armor Knight since he was just shot at one rounding him with a Javelin. But as I was saying about the Shaman, like there is a Javelin Knight in the fog that we want to suicide into Franz, and Vanessa needed a crit for that fighter. But the tile he would attack Franz from is blocked by the Shaman who moves after him in the movement order normally. Vanessa filled up her inventory so that she could use the Iron Lance to kill this mercenary who drops an Iron Blade. That lets us convoy warp the Iron Lance away and equip the Javelin, which will let Vanessa kill the mage who will attack her later on enemy phase. I do a really good job with the XP management on this map, if I do say so myself. I'm pretty sure the only two enemies that don't die are the Priest and a Bale off to the right. Seth will kill the boss with his Javelin, and that will be Chapter 6 in 2 turns. We get an Orion's Bolt at the end of the map for keeping the civilians safe, which is a side objective that is very trivial to achieve in an LTC context. The 7 is a seas map, and because we have a strong Vanessa, we can just have her fly across the terrain in the way to finish it quickly. We will not be able to return to the world map before the chapter after this, but I actually did a semi-decent job of planning my shopping trips in this run since I didn't want to keep doing it before every chapter, and I wanted to avoid triggering map encounters later. Archer's level up gives Molder a turn 1 mend target, but even if he didn't level up, we could have had him attack the soldier from one range, get damage, and have Seth and Franz rescue drop him backwards so Molder could get to him. All the rigging we did for him earlier has paid off, and he will no longer have issues one-rounding enemies for the rest of the playthrough beyond this point. Archer will farm the EXP in the southern part of the map, and Loot will take the area to the west. Yes, Loot is so light that even Natasha can carry her. Vanessa rigs this enemy phase to ensure Archer will get hit, and equips the Slim Lance so she can one-round the two soldiers while carrying Eirika. We actually want Vanessa to be put at low HP for our turn 2 enemy phase strategy. After getting hit gives Molder his turn 2 target. Archer positions himself in that location so that one of the mages up north will suicide into him, as do two of the enemies in the southeast squad. Loot chips the mage down with a sick 1% crit while giving Natasha a staff target. This will cause the mage to move early in the movement order, which ensures he has to attack Loot again. We once again have a long rig for enemy phase. Loot needs to dodge at least one of the fighter or the mage. The reason we got Vanessa to low HP is to ensure the archers attack her instead of blocking Eirika's way to the seize point. And also because Vanessa wants EXP. Vanessa needs to crit the first mercenary to kill him, And the level up she gets lets her kill the other one cleanly. Loot magic really is atrociously weak. Archer just barely managed to one run that mage. Colm used his ability to walk on water to get to that tile so he could bait over that mage who has a stealable energy ring. Vanessa needed to dodge the ballista and both of the archers who go for her on this enemy phase. Archer hit C rank in light magic. Franz has already hit level 12, but we used the steel lance we bought earlier to let him squeeze out a little more lance rank. It also lets Archer get his tome to odd uses, which will help set it up for later. Archer's level up on enemy phase gives Molder his final staff target for this map. And Loot gets her second level up. Boss has a bit too much luck for Vanessa normally, so we kill him with a Slim Lance crit plus hit. The boss drops the Night Crest, which Franz will put to use right away on the next chapter, and Eirika will seize to finish the map in 3 turns. Chapter 8 is another siege map and follows right after the previous one, and this is the one chapter where we save a turn over the old run. We promote Franz right away since we need him to be a paladin for the optimal clear of this map. He now has better stats than Seth in everything except HP, luck, and movement, and moving forward, he will take over Seth's duties as the primary paladin, relegating him to being the secondary. This map is 4 turned on Eirika route, but actually 5 turned on Ephraim route, since there's a side objective which is worth taking an extra turn for on the other route. Both of those strategies require a paladin Franz. Archer's turn 1 level up lets Molder get his mended without having to rig him to get hit. Franz breaks out the Steel Lance for the increased weapon rank gain. In general, when Lance units have to face one range combat and don't mind possibly being weighed down, I have them use Steel Lances to optimize their weapon rank gain. Franz hits B Lances here, leaving 2 more ranks to climb to get to S. He gets us a door key, which we will put to use right away. We then need to rig Loot to get a 2% crit on the soldier, since she isn't strong enough to cleanly one-round him, and we can't spare an action to chip him down. Vanessa and Seth pull off a terrain skip variation of the Paladin Scooch to get Franz onto the tile in front of the door, which is necessary for the fastest clear. Colm needed to start on that specific square and needs to use his full movement every single turn. Eirika got Loot into his saddlebags while staying safely out of range of the enemies. Seth needs to enemy phase that shaman to get him out of the way. Turn 2 saw the arrival of Ephraim, Kyle, and Ford, who will simply hide in a corner for the rest of the map. We will trade away the more valuable gear in Ephraim's inventory, leaving only his PRF and a couple of vulneraries. Eirika handed off Loot to Colm and uses her free action to Pure Water up. Franz opens the door and cantos using his full move. We kill this Armonite with a crit because Loot's EXP plan doesn't need that kill, so instead we can give it to Vanessa. Suddenly, Colm will drop loot into the treasure room so she can take on the Ammonites, which will once more necessitate a big rig. This is both for her survival and because one of the Ammonites is a little too bulky for her to cleanly kill, necessitating a sweet 1% crit. We do want her to get hit though, to get her to low-ish HP. Arthur hits level 12, which is as far as he can go unpromoted given the constraints of the LTC. Vanessa baits the longbow archer to the exact position we need to feed that kill to loot. Colm once again uses his full movement to hand off Eirika to France. Vanessa and Seth have a free player face action, so they rescue drop loot in range of the enemies blocking the way to the throne. Mulder reaches B staves there, and Arthur will move down and promote to Bishop because it gives him C staves to Sage's D, which lets him just barely hit A on time. It also gives him more magic on promotion and a class EXP bonus which he will leverage. After this, there will be exactly one player phase where Archer doesn't use a staff all the way until he hits A rank, which should give you an idea of how tight his staff rank timeline is. Something I didn't mention is that FE8 gives a bonus to EXP payout for killing lower leveled enemies all the way until chapter 8, which is why our units have been growing so quickly, and is the reason we went to the effort of rigging all those intense enemy phases earlier. Because loot is at critical HP, the soldiers and Armonite in front of Eirika go for her. This is a really good map for loot overall. She gains 4 level ups. Archer promptly hits B light, meaning he doesn't need to care about weapon rank for the rest of the playthrough. I looked into the possibility of somehow baiting that soldier on the left with Ephraim's squad earlier so that he too could suicide into Archer, but I couldn't find a way to make it work that would let Archer gain as much EXP as he does here. Eirika's Pure Water boost lets her face tank those mages, though she got a lucky dodge anyway. The last turn is just about cleaning up everywhere. Vanessa takes the thief kill to hit level 12. On Ephraim Proud, the reason we take an extra turn in this map is to get the Elysian Whip in the treasure room on the left, since we need Vanessa to promote for Ephraim Rout's chapter 9 to help save a turn. But on Eirika Route, we don't actually need an Elysian Whip all the way until chapter 14, and we will get another one before then. Colm gets us the Angelic Robe as his final action in this playthrough, which I don't actually ever use because every time that I tried to make use of it, it would just cause the AI to not cooperate with what I wanted for my EXP distribution. Archer was on the cusp of level up and Mulder got one earlier, so their mends of this turn don't rely on being damaged. Franz kills the boss with a crit and a hit with the Steel Lance. And Eirika seizes, completing chapter 8 in 4 turns. We, of course, will choose to go with Eirika. Chapter 9 is a route map and is rather infamous for being a pain to beat efficiently. We start off by suspend rigging down a specific mercenary's stats. We'll visit the shops to get a torch and restore for later and load up on javelins. We're joined by Tana, the Pegasus Knight. Tana comes at level 4 with shaky bases compared to our actually trained units, but we need to start training her right away because we need both our flyers to pull their weight in Chapter 12 and Chapter 15. She comes with D lances, and I make liberal use of the steel lance where I can to grind her lance rank up. We open by rigging Ford to miss the soldier once to gain just chip EXP, which gets him a level up. This level up is the reason we didn't have Ford kill the chest axe fighter in 5x to hit level 10 back then. Tana also intentionally misses in order to get hit, and this gives us 2 staff targets on turn 1. We only have 1 men staff though, so we need to be clever to get Mulder and Arthur to share it on this map. Vanessa and Franz will deal with the entire bottom landmass where the boss is, and Loot will deal with these pirates on the ocean. To get the men over to Arthur, we rescue drop Eirika forward and Seth trades the staff to himself, and then uses the supply command after cantoing to dump it in the convoy. Arthur can then take it from the convoy and use it on Ford. Natasha moves there to bait over the pirate, who would otherwise attack Vanessa, who would do a rather poor job of fighting him while carrying Franz. Tana needs to dodge that soldier. I would have loved to give her my bulk boosters, but that ends up causing the AI in the next map to not cooperate. Loot getting hit there is actually ideal, since taking that hit helps make future turns easier to rig. Dodging the soldier let Tana survive the hit from that archer with 1 HP. We deliberately gave Ford a 1 range weapon for this enemy phase so that he would not counter that pirate, since that helps with setting up Archer's 3 use lightning tome for a future map. This level up guarantees that Natasha would have a staff target on the next turn even if Loot hadn't been hit, though logistically it would have its own annoyances. This mercenary is the enemy we needed to rig down, so Kyle could one-shot him with a Slim Lance crit. He just barely does it since he's still at base, and I didn't want to give him a secret book to let him pull 1% crit with the Iron Lance. He gets his first and penultimate level up. Eirika would really love Sea Swords to use the killing edge on this map, but the EXP plan just didn't allow her for it. Our turn 2 men targets are the same as our turn 1s, and their position lets us trade the men back and forth directly. These pirates in the top left go for the villages, which we don't have time to visit, so we need to delete them with Seth. Luke took enough damage on turn 1 that Natasha cannot heal her to full in one go, which gives her a staff target for both turn 2 and turn 3. If that hadn't happened, we would need to leave the pirate alive and rig him to miss Natasha on turn 2, so Loot could intentionally get hit on turn 3. Since we are neither training Ross nor Combe, that Ocean Seal is just money. The reason we needed Kyle to one-shot the Merc is so that Ford can attack after him and trade the Javelin to the top of his inventory, and chip the other mercenary down so Eirika can enemy phase him. This is because Kyle needs the chip EXP from engaging with the sniper on enemy phase, so that he can level up at the right time on the next map. That archer rolled up on speed, so Tana can't double him with the Iron Lance, which is what necessitated that 1% crit. Franz at least has 0 issues with combat, given all of the level ups we stuffed down his throat earlier. The village in the top left has a Draco shield, while the village near where Vanessa is has a rapier. Thankfully, Eirika's starting rapier is pretty much the all she needs for like most of the game. Turn 3 is when we end the map, so we need to delete all the inconvenient enemies. Eirika's level up guarantees that even if she hadn't been hit, Archer could have gotten a staff use in there. Ford takes out the mage with a rigged crit because we want units to end turn in range of him with one range weapons equipped. That sniper is quite powerful compared to the other units, but he's quite slow, letting Eirika delete him with a rapier crit and hit since she can double him. Pirate not getting one shot lets Seth get a little extra sword rank, which is nice. We want Seth to use a silver weapon so that he can one shot the Myrmidon whom he doesn't double. Franz 2 rounds the boss with a less than ideal hit rate, but we need to use the javelin due to all the archers near him. Mercenary rolled up on bulk, so Tana doesn't two-shot him with the steel lance, necessitating another crit rig. Our turn 3 ments come from Eirika and Kyle, and again we can just have them traded back and forth thanks to the positioning involved. This is the only chapter where we resort to this level of dedication to micromanaging immense stuff, since we can just buy them after this map. Visiting both of the villages would have gotten us an angelic robe at the end of the chapter. But given that I didn't use the one that I actually have, it's not like that would have made a big difference. Vanessa hits B lances there. All the rest of the enemies need to die on this enemy phase, which involves landing some shaky hits, but reliability is a liability. And that will be chapter 9 in 3 turns. Chapter 10 is a siege map, and an incomplete recruitment is a fly skip 2 turn. In fact, the most relevant recruitables in this map auto-join at the end, so it isn't even particularly painful to do so. However, there is one unit who does not, and she forces us to spend some more time and effort. However, it's not all stalling. Our staff users need the extra time on this map, and we will also farm a lot of important EXP and collect some valuable droppables. We can finally buy mends, meaning Archer and Molder don't need to stick together anymore. We can also buy unlocks, and yes, I did just buy 2 of them. As a matter of fact, I go back later to buy a third one, because there's a future map where we want to have 3 separate unlock staves. Interestingly, while the 2-turn of this map is pretty obvious, Beam Crash, who did an incomplete recruitment round of Eirika route on normal mode in Japanese, did it in 3 turns. This is something I didn't understand, since Beam Crash was way ahead of his time, and it seemed really unlikely that he just made a mistake. And I puzzled out the why when I did the original Eirika route playthrough. There are 3 green units who come under attack from the enemies down south, who auto-join at the end of the map. Ines the sniper, Garrick the mercenary, and Tethys our dancer. The enemies start too far away to get turn 1 staff uses in particular when you consider that the nature of the clear requires our mounted units to take the best deployment slots. Ford needed a crit to kill that mercenary, since he's in the way of units who need to move forward on turn 1. This is the only turn until chapter 16 that Archer isn't grinding his staff rank. Instead, turn 1 is spent rescue dropping a lot of units forward. Molder and Archer will rescue drop loot, Eirika and Kyle will rescue drop Natasha, Vanessa and Franz rescue drop Arthur, and Tana and Seth rescue drop Vanessa. Garcia picks up Eirika in preparation for turn 2. Ford's crit on that mercenary was unexpected, but it turns out to be ideal for EXP management purposes. Marissa is the female myrmidon at the very bottom of the map, and we need Garrick to talk to her to recruit her. However, her squad is initially stationary. Speaking of the green units, Inez will actually be important to the clear of the next chapter, though he becomes irrelevant afterwards. Garrick will be important throughout the mid-game as our primary bow user, and Tethys, well, I don't need to start explaining the usefulness of a dancer to an LTC, now do I? Though Tethys will actually spend a lot of her time helping with staff rank grinding. The reason we didn't give Tana her bulk boosters is so that fighter would go for her over Ford, giving Molder a staff target for next turn. He can't heal Ford because Garcia needs that square to hand off Eirika and chip the mercenary down with a sick 32 hit hand axe hit. Ford instead heals himself up with the vulneraries to get the AI to cooperate next turn. Franz gets that soldier out of the way and gets us a door key that we want for the next chapter. We wanted to chip the mercenary down so that Kyle could kill him, and Kyle can't poke crit on him with the javelin. We specifically need him dead so that Kyle can get this level up that we micromanaged his EXP for. Winter hands off Eirika to Franz while getting in an unlock for a juicy 5 staff EXP. He also has Franz equip a slim lance so as to intentionally leave an enemy alive. This is a map where Natasha is a bit of a liability, since my staff plan called for her to get 2 heals in on this map, but that fighter straight up one-shots her with the steel axe and almost kills her with the hand axe, and she ends up not even being necessary to the playthrough. Tana needs to go south to talk to Inez, who talks to Garrick, who talks to both Tethys and Marissa. Vanessa needs to go south because we need to cross a certain line to trigger Marissa's squad to start moving towards us to speed up her recruitment. One of the advantages of taking the land route to the gate is that we can get 2 droppables. The first is the Lance Reaver, which is nice to have on a couple of maps. Vanessa takes loot with her since she still needs to farm some more EXP to promote. Now that Arthur has opened the door, his job for the rest of the map is to mop up as much EXP as he can for that central area while still getting his staff uses in. Those enemies go for him, presumably because Ford and Franz have lances equipped. Tana missing that fighter means she misses out on chip EXP, and her getting hit makes the next enemy phase a little more painful. Garrick needs to miss at least 1 hit in order to leave that soldier alive so that Inez runs out of the enclosure to kill him, which is riggable in part due to his Steel Blade's shaky hit. The Steel Blade's questionable hit rate will be put to use in a future map as well. Kyle's level up was so that Arthur could move that far south while still getting a mend in, which lets him face more enemies. Ford and Seth get Kyle out of there so that the enemies can only go for Arthur. Franz drops Eirika in range to seize next turn, but you'll notice a bunch of enemies clogging up the 1-tile wide passage. Having Tana use the Steel Lance is a bit greedy since she needs to dodge the other soldier on enemy phase, but oh well. I was never known for reliability. Natasha will get in the forest to boost her avoid to make the enemy phase a little less painful to rig. And Vanessa will drop loot right in front of the enemy squad so she can get the last bit of EXP that she needs. Hunter doesn't need that crit. He at this point he basically one rounds every enemy that he will face. Eirika needs to crit that Myrmidon to kill him, which is another place that having sea swords to use the killing edge would have come in handy. To add insult to injury, this kill actually gets her to sea swords. Hits level 10 and in fact overshoots by a little bit. That longbow archer drops his weapon, which will be very important all throughout the mid game. And I think the longbow is the real reason Beam Crash took an extra turn on this map. Since even though he couldn't pull crit on the boss, I think he could have fixed that problem with a secret book or with a Slimlance crit. I didn't expect Vanessa to kill that brigand, but I just got that for free when I was rigging this enemy face. Killing that archer is the last thing Kyle does in this run. This frees up Ford's turn to visit the arena. This fight against a max leveled enemy lets Ford hit level 12, which makes a future map a bit less painful. The Lance Reaver gives boosted weapon EP, which is why I had Seth use that, since he needed to convoy warp the Iron Blade away earlier. Moss has too much luck to crit without either a special weapon or secret book investment, but France is so strong he just cleanly one-rounds him. The boss drops a guiding ring, which we will be using on loot right away. Torch Staff saves us a little bit of money in the future. Loot finishes setting up a 7-use Fire Tome to help make a future map a little more sensible. To talk to Marissa this turn, Garrick needs to move pretty far, which means he needs to promote to Ranger and get danced. Thankfully, we do want Garrick to be a Ranger for several future maps, for the Horse and Bow Axis, so this isn't a sacrifice. Marissa is a very weak unit who will not do anything in this playthrough, though Eirika would have appreciated the Shamshir she brings earlier on, since it's a D rank sword with even more crit than a killing edge. That will be chapter 10 in 4 turns. Chapter 11 is a Fog of War monster route, which means our staff users will love it. We also won't return to the overworld before the chapter after it. The map is a haunted mansion with narrow pathways that we need to take special care to clear out. We start by promoting loot, not to Mage Knight as you might expect an LTC to, but instead to Sage. That's right, this is a time where we're not just going for more movement. Even more strangely, the reason we do this is because we want her to use light magic, which most would consider the inferior weapon type for sages given its reduced might. We will have her ditch the anima magic she's so proficient in for the immediate future, and instead grinding her light and staff rank. Loot's EXP gain isn't particularly important anymore, but she has D ranks in light and staves right now, and we need to raise that to B rank in light and C rank in staves in chapter 18. And as a matter of fact, the reason Natasha is irrelevant to the playthrough is because I managed to get loot to C staves before chapter 16, letting her do the thing that I thought I needed to train Natasha for. The Sage promotion is clearly worse for her combat since she has only 4 con, meaning anything other than a fire tome still weighs her down. Light magic in particular is heavier than anima, so she will not be able to use her full speed stat while she's working on her light rank. She will use Shine for the boosted weapon EXP gain and take a torch. Arthur, Tana, and Garrick will handle the left corridor. The enemies in the room near the starting area are all stationary, and 2 of them are away from the wall, so we can't just 2-range them. This is a map where the longbow is very useful. We'd otherwise have to send someone like Vanessa down to run all the way to them, ruining our EXP allocation. Tana needs a crit to kill the first Revenant because the enemy movement order is inconvenient and has him move after one of his friends next to him. The longbow also let Inez clear the way for Franz to carry loot to the right. Vanessa will stick to utility duties on this map, helping with transportation of Tethys and the longbow. Garrick will enemy phase the enemy next to the wall and drop Tethys to the left. Now that she's done helping with the clear, Tethys will spend her time dancing for Archer so he can use Torch more. Tana gets up to seize lances, which she does need for our strategy in the next chapter. She needed to dodge either the bow using Bonewalker that goes for her later this enemy phase, or both Revenants. The green units in the center are La Rochelle the Troubadour and Dazla the Berserker. La Rochelle is irrelevant, but Dazla will actually be used on the next chapter. We needed someone to tag along with Franz to clear his path, and we chose Loot because this map is a great opportunity for her to grind up light rank. None of the enemies go for Franz over Loot, I guess because they have a preference to avoid attacking magic users. Because Loot obviously has inferior defensive parameters to Franz. Dalsla does help with the clear. He's using a rather inaccurate battle axe, but thankfully he lands all the attacks he needs to. Garrick clears that bow using Bonewalker out of the way, since he has a free turn. The next chapter will really put Tana to the test, hence all the rigging to maximize her EXP gain. The boss is a promoted wight and is rather nasty, but it's nothing Archer with his Slayer skill that grants him effective damage against monsters can't handle. To him, the boss is just a juicy EXP bag. Franz has a free turn, so he gets the secret book and equips the steel lance for a minor optimization. Dooms tend to have a lot of luck, which is why we can't pull crit on them. Snipers do have a skill as well, Sure Strike, but it's basically irrelevant outside of changing the number of RNs burnt. It's a proc skill that guarantees a hit, but they don't have hit rate issues to begin with. Franz uses the chest key drop from this Bone Walker to get a Steel Lance kill in before he switches to Javelin to handle the other enemies. He's so strong at this point that he's straight up one-shotting Moguls and Mouth Dukes. You might wonder why I didn't give Archer the energy ring we got in chapter 7. Also, that's Franz hitting A lances right there, meaning he can use silver lances, though I don't think he ever does in this playthrough. But the reason we didn't give Archer the energy ring, even though he has a magic benchmark, is that there is another unit who is going to show up on the next chapter who also has a magic benchmark, and we need to give him an energy ring. Archer is just going to have to get to 24 magic the hard way. Eirika ends this chapter on the cusp of a level up. Natasha hits C staves and will promptly disappear from this playthrough. After Inez finishes the Entombed, we need the longbow to the left for Garrick to kill the other stationary enemy. Lute equips a lightning so as to double a couple of gargoyles, but we're still in for a rough enemy phase. She doesn't double the mouth dukes and doesn't one-shot them, meaning she needs to crit both of them near her on enemy phase with a lightning crit, which is about 10 to 11%. Archer actually had to move backwards so Tethys could reach him. We could let him handle those two enemies, but Tana can use the kills more. Franz uses the door key we got last map to access the enemies in the bottom right. One of them is a Death Guile that he does not cleanly one round, especially since he needs to use a Javelin to kill a bow user. If you're keeping score, that means we need 3 enemy phase crits on this enemy phase. Vanessa rigs them and then takes the longbow so Garrick can use it. It's good that Lute has enough leeway with her light rank that she doesn't need to use Shine on this enemy phase, because then we would need to rig 5 crits on this enemy phase. The 2 chests that we did not get in this clear have a Restore Staff and a Shot Spear. Franz is just 2 level ups away from capping his strength. And Luke will complete chapter 11 in 3 turns. Well, another monster route, though no fog of war this time. This map, infamously known as Spider Mountain among LTCers, has many kills with terrible hit rates because the fastest clear requires killing several bales while they're on peaks which grant 40 avoid and 2 defense. In the old run I deployed Molder on this map, but this time around I'd bench him to deploy Seth instead so that Lute can get more staff uses in. Molder's EXP deficit is handled through other means. This is the map Ford was trained for because he has the 16 aid needed to carry Dazzler, who can walk on peaks and let us get to some problematic enemies in time. We get a new unit, Sally, the Sage. He comes with C staves, A anima, B light, and 16 magic. Even after 100% growth and all of her perfect level ups, our loot stats are basically the same as base Sally, with worse weapon ranks and better bulk. Sally needs to hit 26 magic and A staves for chapter 16, which is a pretty tight window, and 28 magic for chapter 18. So he becomes a very important unit who will basically monopolize all of Tethys' dances that don't go to saving turns. Turn 1 of this map is the only turn he doesn't use his staff all the way until chapter 18. Dazzler getting hit gives Arthur his turn 1 mend. Our flyers need to handle the top part of the map, and Tana carries France to help deal with the enemies in the top right. She needs a boost from Tethys to get to the squares that she needs to. We need to rescue trap Tethys backwards so she isn't in range of the Mogul. Arthur hits B staves with his mend. And part of the reason Arthur's staff rank grinding is so strict is the fact that Sally is monopolizing Tethys, and the barrier staff, which we're gonna get on this map. Seth cantered down there so as to manipulate the tile that a particular enemy reinforcement spawns in on. Gareth equipped the Iron Lance because he ends turn in position to 2 range a gargoyle with a javelin, who would be annoying to deal with otherwise. We actually want Gareth to get hit on this enemy phase. Ford, at level 12, doubled the Revenant with the Iron Lance even while carrying Dazzler, removing the need for a Slim Lance crit. That crit was obviously unnecessary. Tana has to move first because Vanessa needs to visit that village she flew over, and visiting a village makes it impassable to flyers. We loaded up her inventory so she could convoy work the barrier staff, which gives 4 staff EXP a pop and is the secret to training up her staffers. However, it only has 14 uses that grant staff rank, due to a glitch in vanilla GBA FE where the last use of a staff doesn't give staff rank. Well, at least in FE7 and FE8. We can't do anything about that for now, but this means that Saleh's staff plan requires him to use Mend 5 times and Barrier 13 times across chapter 12 and 13. Thankfully, we can get 4 of those Mend uses out of the way on this map, as well as 2 barriers on this turn. Eirika's level up gives Loot a Mend target, and she positions herself so she can enemy face the Bale with Shine. Seth cleared out the Doog so Saleh could barrier him, and he equips Elfire for boosted anima rank and to tempt the enemies to go for him over other targets since it weighs him down. Ford drops Dazzler after trading the Killer Axe to the top of his inventory for enemy phase and canters up to fight the enemies in the center of the map. Garrick pulls off the first atrocious mounted spider kill with the longbow. Getting damaged on turn 1 enemy phase gives Arthur his turn 2 mend, and he equips the Killing Edge. Ford one-rounds one of the Revenants but not the other, which means the Doog in the center of the map won't go for him. He got up to B lances, but Ford's lance rank doesn't matter. And B rank lances in GBAFE tends to not be useful anyway, since it usually only unlocks the Brave Lance, which is very inaccessible in this game at least, and even in FE7 it shows up very late. Tana and Franz equip Steel Lances because she needs it to kill the Revenant, and he likes the Lance rank, and we have an extra turn to handle the Mogul nearby anyway. Ford doesn't one round the Gargoyles, but we don't really need him to, and in fact, it lets us set up a trick with Arthur later and has him avoid fighting the 2 Doogs on the right, who we can instead kill with Dazzler and Garrick. Dazzler one-shots that Doog. He only has the killer axe for the hit improvement over the battle axe. The other Doog has a little too much bulk for Garrick to one-shot with the steel blade, so he needs a killing edge crit. The other village would get his Ewan, but he would be a huge liability on this map, and he auto-joins at the end anyway. Ewan is a trainee mage who doesn't do anything in this run, though he does bring us a second energy ring for Sally. Funnily enough, Ewan, a tiny pupil, still has enough con that he can rescue Sage loot. Sally getting dropped to critical HP is what prompted the Gargoyle to attack with heavier weapons so that he could actually double them even with Elfire. Eirika whiffs there to produce a mend target. And Sally's enemy phase action gives Loot her second mend. Gargoyle Dazzler kills rolled up on speed, so he can't double him. But Dazzler needs to kill him because he has a javelin and would be a pain later. Dazzler's crit boost from his Berserker class helps, I guess. One thing I'm glad for is that this clear doesn't require Dazzler to enemy face crit a Bale like some other FE8 LTCs do, since he has atrocious hit rate. Garrett breaks Ford out so that Arthur can position himself there with the 3-use Lightning Tome. The Lance Tree will keep the enemies off of Garrick, who does not want the attention. Vanessa kills the passive Killing Edge Bonewalker. And Eirika is unequipped so that she does not accidentally kill the Doog on enemy phase. That Revenant could only go for Archer, which puts his tome down to 2 uses. This gets a couple of the nearby gargoyles to go for him since they see his tome is about to break, which helps funnel more EXP into him. Sadly, the other ones don't oblige, even though I queued up the 1-use Lightning Tome after that. Nosla needed to crit that gargoyle. Nana uses the Axe Reaver to take out the boss, which is what she wanted to get to Sea Lances for, and uses the item drop from the boss's Steel Bow to switch to the Steel Lance for enemy phase. Franz could have used the Steel Lance here to maximize his weapon EXP gain, but the last enemy phase involves a painful enemy phase crit, and I wanted to make the rest of it as smooth as possible. Dazzler exactly one-shot with a hatchet crit, which let him use the more accurate weapon instead of having to use the hand axe. Vanessa needs to crit that bale to kill it with shaky hit and low crit. Everybody else needs to land all their attacks to route the map in 4 turns, and Tana needs to dodge a little bit. Hits B lances there. Chapter 17 is a defend map that can be ended early by killing the boss, and an incomplete recruitment LTC is a one-turn clear. However, since we're doing a full recruitment playthrough, we need to wait for Carmack to show up on turn 5 so we can recruit him on turn 6. This means we have some time to sit around, and we will make the most of it to grind EXP and staff rank, which led the user Jumpy23 to name this map the midroll ad of FE8. This is the last time Garcia will see use, and it's because he has the lowest res in our army. Well, second lowest. Ross has even less res, but he's a little too frail and would get killed by the nearby enemies. We also want to get Tana and Vanessa one last level each as unpromoted units, and some combat on Archer. The main event will be the training of Sally, who we will try to funnel the entire right side of the map to. His player phase actions will go to spamming staves, so we need to use our other units to help the enemies suicide into him. He would have benefited from buff boosters, but again, it just messes up the AI. Sally will take both of our energy rings to get up to 20 magic, meaning he needs to gain 6 level ups to hit his chapter 16 benchmark. Theoretically, there is an alternate route for an LTC where you instead get Molder attacked a lot on this map, which reduces the amount of EXP that Sally will need for a reason that will become clear on the next map. But I didn't want to bother with that. Speaking of Molder, we bought the Restore Staff earlier for this map, so he could use it to gain more EXP. There's a Sleep Priest, and we will have him hit Garcia 3 times, so Molder can use Restore, which gives 20 EXP, rather than having to set up Mend targets for him, and Mend only gives him 12 EXP a use. Garrick and Loot will take the south, where Garrick will just get damaged so Loot can get Mend uses in. The Steel Blade's bad hit comes in handy here. Tethys' turn 1 level up gives Molder his turn 1 staff target. Tana gives Archer a turn 1 Mend target and gets the Archer off the ballista. She will also keep the other Archer away from it. Sally equips the 7-use Fire Tome to limit his enemy phase exposure. The trainee soldier there is Amelia, who comes with the speed wings. Franz and Eirika can recruit her, and while we obviously don't have time to deal with her terrible combat, her 6 con means she'll actually help with the rescue drop on this chapter. The 3 ranges are rather nasty and will give Sally a constant chance of death on this map. I'm actually a bit suboptimal with Sally's EXP. I mostly rig for survival and the sleep staff hits. So he sometimes misses attacks and doesn't gain ship EXP that he otherwise would. Speaking of the sleep staff, it always has like sub 50 hit because the priest doesn't have much magic and likes to use it from the very edge of his range. Once again, try to use that one use lightning tome to get the mercenary to suicide and dart, but no dice, it doesn't work. Vanessa clearing out that Cavalier is the last bit of EXP she needs to cap out her strength unpromoted, and it lets Franz recruit Emilia. Seth helps reduce the fire enemy draw pile onto Sally since we can't heal him next turn. And Eirika will face some combat to give Arthur a staff target on the left for the next turn. I mentioned an alternate strategy involving Mulder getting attacked. There is another energy ring on Eirika route, but we can't afford to give it to Sally because we actually have to give it to Mulder so that he can hit 12 magic on time. The idea of getting him attacked is that if we were really, really tight with his EXP gain, such as deploying him in chapter 12 and getting him attacked, I think, an extra 10 times, he would be able to hit level 10 by chapter 16, which would mean that we could promote him, and the bishop slash sage magic gain on promotion would be enough for him to hit 12 magic, which would save the energy ring, which we otherwise give him, which could have been given to Sally instead. And thankfully, the next turn will be the last sleep staff use we need to rig. The Mendius Sally got in on this turn is the last one he needs to use. He will switch over to using higher grade staves full time from now on. I think I didn't acknowledge it earlier, but Franz started the map off unequipped, so that he would not just massacre the enemies. The enemies still went for Sally over him early on because of Franz having insanely high bulk and Sally having less. Let's just say that much. Because EXP gain isn't particularly important anymore, though having more bulk on her is nice for chapter 18. Hunter can heal Eirika again and she can get out of there to ensure that the nearby enemies all end up dogpiling on Arthur, who's their only target. Sally hits B staves here. It's a testament to how much attention he's getting that he does this just one map after Archer. Franz and Seth set up a couple of the rangers to die to Sally on enemy phase, which is also why he equipped the Elfire Tome. Hunter's EXP gain from kills is pretty bad at this point, but he just needs to keep fighting. On prior turns, if Garrick didn't get hit on enemy phase, he could use the Steel Blade on the next player phase to get himself damaged, but this time he can't do that. Sally hits S Anima here, which will let him use the S rank tome later, and the crit bonus is nice for the boss kill on this map. Turn 5 sees the arrival of Carmack, though we can't talk to him yet since he's over the mountains. Even in a displayed LTC context where he allowed grinding, you don't have enough units at this point who can stand on peaks to manipulate his starting position for Eirika to recruit him a turn early. It's all good. Sally, Arthur, Loot, and Molder all want this extra turn anyway. Garrett moves up and Loot heals him, since the Wyverns will go for them. And the exact position ensures the soldiers will die to loot for light rank. We leave Sally at low HP to ensure the ranger will die to him, even though he gets put to low HP by Franz. To hit A light, and Loot finally hits C light. Thankfully, she doesn't double Carmack, which would have been problematic given that light magic is extremely accurate. Speaking of Carmack, he's a third flyer. He's much more significant on Ephraim route since he joins earlier there, but we still need him for the fastest clears of Chapter 15 and Chapter 18. I could probably have tried to get him more EXP. In particular, there is a kill Arthur takes that Carmack could have used to maybe get an extra level up before he eventually promotes, but oh well. He brings us a Killer Lance and an Elysian Whip right on time for Chapter 14, where we need an extra 8 move unit. Arthur equips the one use lightning tome to get the wyvern to go for him. Sally stays at low HP to keep the enemies from getting any funny ideas. Sally needs an enemy face crit to kill IS, which is a place where his S rank anima crit boost does come in handy. He's won the barrier down to a mere 2 uses, and he's still far from A rank, but Chapter 14 will bring us a solution to that problem. With this bar skill, Sally hits 24 magic, which is about as far as he can realistically get to on this chapter. And that will be chapter 13 in 6 turns. We get a Night Crest, which we want for chapter 14. Chapter 14 is a classic GPA indoor seas map with winding corridors. We have a bunch of side objectives to get to, including one that we can only reach because this LTC is full recruitment. We also, of course, need to keep our staff rank regiment going and earn some EXP on important units. We won't have access to the overworld before the next map, which is why I take this chance to restock on javelins. The fastest clear of Chapter 14 requires 3 8-move units, and in an incomplete recruitment playthrough, those are Seth, Franz, and Ford. However, we have Cormac's Elysian Whip to promote Vanessa, and with 4 8-move units, we can visit the secret shop at the end of the map. Vanessa promotes to Wyvern Knight, which gives her more effective AS and the Pierce skill. Pierce is a proc skill that negates the enemy's defense, and will be used by another of our Wyverns to kill some extremely bulky bosses. Speaking of the secret shop, in the English version, we can buy killer weapons, staves, and promotion items here, and we definitely want all of those, and is the reason we actually cared a bit about saving money in this playthrough. In the Japanese version, that shop sells stat boosters, no boots though, and siege tomes, making it even more valuable. We'll still hit the optimal turn counts without those superpowered purchases. We give Vanessa the secret books to maximize her skill because I thought it would be important for the next map, but it turns out not to be, and I could have used them earlier to improve reliability elsewhere. I actually oversell a bit, I don't spend all of the money I raise. Well, I guess it goes to show that the route I alluded to earlier, where Moldur is promoted, is possible, since that route requires buying a guiding ring, and I do have more than 10,000 gold left over at the end of the map. The shop isn't the only occasion this map where we'll spend money though. You'll see when we get there. You might notice a lot of locked doors. These represent valuable opportunities to use unlock, and is in fact the reason we have 3 separate unlock staves. Archer wears barrier down to 1 use, meaning we can't get any more mileage out of it. For now. Vanessa moves it over to the right when she picks up Eirika, so Sally can trade the staff to himself before opening the door. Vanessa drops Eirika there in preparation for next turn, and Lute heads left because she is going to be in charge of raiding the left treasure room. Enemy face sees the true boss, Carlyle, take the throne. Carlyle has a lot of luck and is a fast and dodgy swordmaster boss, making him annoying to kill. Eirika started with the Lance Reaver equipped to maintain advantage over the Sword Reaver fighter, and filled up her inventory so she could switch to another sword after killing him. The enemy rogue above her is Renak, a recruitable. Rogues have the pick skill, letting them open doors and chests without lockpicks, making them a strict upgrade to thieves. Renak can either be recruited by Eirika by paying him 9,980 gold, or by La Rochelle for free. Sadly, we can't afford to use La Rochelle for this clear, so Renak will be the first big spend of the map. He comes with the member card, which we need to get to the secret shop. Seth trades it away from him while also filling up Renak's inventory. This is because the top chest contains the Hammerne staff, which is the answer to our staff rank problem. We convoy warp it immediately, and Ford takes it out since he has a free action. He positions himself there so Garrick can take it while starting to work on the wall with the steel bow. Franz finally hits S lances, which will give him some more hit and crit, which he values on the next map, and lets him use the S rank lance in chapter 18. Luther's turn 1 level up would have given Mulder a staff target on turn 2, even if we hadn't rigged Carmack to miss on turn 1. He hits A staves, demonstrating why I never made particular mention of his staff rank, though he does still need to get to 12 magic. Franz and Vanessa drop Tethys forward for a hellish enemy phase, but it is needed for the fastest clear of this map. With that unlock use, Loot hits C staves and doesn't have to worry about grinding staff rank anymore. Arthur opens this door so that he can fight the enemies inside it. Salah uses Hammerne both for the massive 8 weapon EXP it provides and to restore the barrier staff. Since we'll get a chance to buy more in the secret shop, all 3 of our staffers will pass it around for the rest of the map after this. All of those enemies have hit rate between 40 and 60 on Tethys, and I rigged them all to miss just to make future enemy phases more sensible. Annoyingly, Loot doesn't double that mage, but she does have to take an extra turn anyway to deal with the stationary Armor Knight in the way. Ford and Eirika clear out a path for us. The reason we could get away with using Hammerne on Barrier is that we don't really need all the potential uses of the Warp Staff on either route of FE8. We couldn't do this on Ephraim route, though, because of issues with the exact timing of the repairs, but we can on Eirika route. Franz takes the hero crest to sell for later and the member card, since as the unit who will run furthest ahead, he will visit this shop. He was chosen for the job because he has the stats to kill the sniper who will get in the way later on the map, and because he doesn't really need boss kill EXP anymore. Renak needs to get the door open for him so he can pick up Tethys and canter away. And Vanessa will pick up Eirika so that she can be carried to the Sea Spine. Lute hits B light at last, meaning her weapon rank grind is over and she can go back to using anima magic. Loot first gets us the Dragon Spear. We will use it for exactly one boss kill later on, because its 3x effectiveness multiplier will actually give it the same might as the S rank lance against that boss. It isn't strictly needed though. Now that the wall is down, Carmack and Garrick head into the corridor, and Carmack gets to kill this Armor Knight, which puts him on the cusp of level up. Franz drops Tethys on the pillar to boost her avoid, and because she can afford to lose a square. This 1 tile wide corridor is quite cramped, and our other 8 move units can't get to this Armor Knight in time, which is why Garrick and Carmack need to clear Franz's way. Franz drops Eirika in range of the throne and then goes left to get to the secret shop on the next turn. Loot gets us the last energy ring, which will go to Molder as previously discussed. And you'll notice Seth equipped the Silver Sword. This is so he can one round those 2 Armor Knights who went for Tethys last turn to earn the last bit of sword XP he needs. Bet you forgot about that little flex to hit S swords. This isn't all that useful, but it lets him use the S rank sword in chapter 18, where he appreciates the monster effectiveness and the +5 resistance boost. The other chest that Renak gets has the spear, which we will put to use on the next chapter as a more powerful 1-2 range lance. Gareth and Carmack once again help clear out the congested corridor. Vanessa is actually fast enough to double Carlisle with the Killer Lance, though she doesn't two-shot. But I rigged the Steel Lance crit anyway, because I'm slave to weapon EXP. She was prioritized for the boss skill because she appreciates any extra stats to help with the next chapter. Mulder's EXP plan doesn't need him to get another barrier use in, so I had him get the Guiding Ring chest just for the heck of it. The optimized Molder route would not have the time to get this Guiding Ring, and we would instead have to buy one from the secret shop. This is the only secret shop we visit, so we sell the member card. We buy some Killer Lances, a barrier, and a couple of Elysian Whips for Tana and Carmag. That completes chapter 14 in 6 turns. At the end of the map, we get the S rank sword Audumla and the S rank animatome Excalibur. Chapter 15 is the obligatory Fire Emblem Desert map, and as a route map, it's particularly annoying. However, desert route maps have a tendency to distill the theory of LTCing route maps down to the very fundamentals, and those come down to identifying passive enemies, which there fortunately aren't too many of. We also have a full set of flyers and foot magic users who can traverse the terrain unimpeded. We promote Tana and Carmack because we need all the firepower we can get. They both go Wyvern Knight since it's clearly the superior choice. Molter will use the energy ring and is now at 11 magic. We start by rigging Carmack to pick up the Swift Souls. We filled up his inventory so he could convoy warp it right away. Arthur heads left because there is an enemy that we need a promoted magic user to reach, and the mage that does this doesn't need to spare any player face actions. He will also pick up a few kills along the way. Seth tags along with him because Arthur needs someone to target with barrier. He equips a lance to nudge the nearby enemies to go for Arthur. Tana takes the Swift Souls and uses them. Yes, Tana is our 10 movement wyvern of choice in this playthrough, and it's entirely because of this map. There is a silent staff in the far left that we need to pick up, but getting to it on turn 1 requires a 10 movement flyer, and we can't afford to get it on turn 2. This flyer needs to be a Wyvern Knight since they need to use Pierce to kill Kalak. We want to use Vanessa in the bottom right due to her having the best stats, and use our second best Wyvern, which is Tana, to handle the top left. Yep, Tana is the Swift Souls user because she's worse than Vanessa. Eirika and Sally will cover the top right part of the map. The mercenary to the northwest of Loot is the only enemy she strictly needs to kill for the fastest clear, but she lets us improve the sanity of the clear by adding an extra hand in the south. Ford positions himself as far ahead as he can to prepare for next turn. Saleh needed Eirika so he could have a barrier target. Vanessa carried Franz to the front and dropped him to take on Walter's squad. This is the big map Franz was trained for, where he, even with his capped out strength, cannot one round every single enemy nearby. Carmack and Tana also have issues on this enemy phase actually landing all of their attacks since they lack S lances. Carmack is using the spear because he needs 1 to 2 range, but javelins aren't strong enough to kill the wyverns that go for him. Franz doesn't cleanly one round that wyvern, which is why we wanted to crit him. This gets the enemies, such as the nearby paladin, to continue going for Franz, who cleanly kills them, instead of attacking Vanessa, who doesn't, and going to low HP and possibly activating heal AI. Berserker would one-shot Sally if he crit, but thankfully the crit chance is pretty low. Vanessa doesn't cleanly one-round this ranger, but she does manage to kill the other one, which is simplifies things for next turn, since Loot can pick off the ranger who survived. She doesn't cleanly one round this wyvern, which is annoying, but it does get the troubadours to move up a bit. The troubadours and the eclipse shaman all need to be dispatched on player phase. Technically, Carmack, Vanessa, and Franz are enough to route that portion of the map, but we sent in Loot and Ford to give us some extra help to reduce the level of rigging needed. Loot takes out the ranger with a crit, though I could have given her a fire tome to cleanly take off the last of his HP. With that barrier use, Archer finally hits Ace Daves, his target for chapter 16. We then perform an absurdly long rig to get Tana to do a bunch of things at once. Because she used the boots, she had to have a free inventory slot and couldn't convoy work the silent staff on turn 1. Now, we want to one round Kalak with the Axe Reaver, which requires her to proc Pierce twice at a 1% rate. This Kalak kill gets her the Hoplin Guard, which lets her convoy work the silent staff. Then, she also needs to pick up the warp staff and send that to the supply as well. Sally pulls the silence and warp staves from the convoy, and he gets in a couple of silence uses, which let him hit ace staves as well on time for chapter 16. He hands off the warp to Molder. Molder uses it to get Ford across the desert, and the large EXP payout lets him hit level 9 and 12 magic, which was his benchmark for chapter 16. We didn't use warp here in the old playthrough, and this necessitates some changes to the staff plan for the last few chapters, including one brand new strategy. Ford kills one of the troubadours, and this frees up Franz to chip down Walter instead of having to rely on an enemy face crit, like the old strategy did. The start of enemy phase sees Ephraim rejoined with a bunch of auto levels with 100% growths, giving him competent stats. Alongside him are Dusel the Great Knight and Noel the Shaman, neither of whom do anything for us. Arthur hits 24 magic here, which was his other target for chapter 16, though Sally doesn't quite make it to 26 magic. Well, he doesn't need it at the start of the map anyway, you'll see. That Berserker's Devil Axe backfire wasn't strictly needed, but it does help. Both Franz and Vanessa have 2-use javelins that get the wyverns to attack them over the other units who can't one-round them. Vanessa caps out her strength here. Now that we have the warp staff, the nature of this playthrough will shift dramatically. And that will be chapter 15 in 2 turns. At the end of the map, we get Gleipnir, the S-rank Dark Tome, and Gam, the S-rank Axe, neither of which we can or even want to use in this playthrough. Chapter 16 sees the start of the late game, and now that we have the warp staff, the maps will go by extremely fast. This is the chapter we wanted 3 warpers for, since we're going to one-turn it, but we also need to get the Purge Stone, which is dropped by a sage in the throne room. We also need a Hammerne user, a role which can be played by Loot. Natasha was trained up as a backup for this role in case I couldn't get Loot to see staves on time. Arthur needs his full staff range to get set past all those walls to that square, so that he can kill the sage who drops Purge. Molder then trades Warp to himself to warp Eirika up a bit. She needs to be moved 6 tiles, which is why he needed 12 magic for this. If Molder had gotten to level 10 and promoted, he would have either 12 magic as a sage or 13 magic as a bishop, removing the need for the energy ring we gave him. Finally, Saleh, who currently has 12 range since he still only has 25 magic, works Tana in so she can kill the boss. This gives Saleh the EXP he needs to hit 26 magic and puts the warp staff at 1 use. There is one enemy in the way of getting to Eirika to warp her again, and Vanessa takes him out, hitting S lances in the process. Loot repairs the warp staff back to full, and Ford and Franz rescue drop Saleh forward before he gets danced. And Saleh warps Eirika exactly 5 tiles away from the throne. Tana then rigs to kill the boss with a double Axe Reaver crit, because as previously mentioned, I'm a slave to weapon EXP. Purge Stone will be very important for the fastest clear of chapter 18, which is why we had to put this effort into getting it. And Eirika ceases to complete chapter 16 in one turn. At the end of the map, we get to promote Eirika and Ephraim. There's no reason to delay this. Eirika gets a new PRF, the Sigland, and so does Ephraim, who gets the Sigmund. Both of them gain horses, which have 7 movement on promotion, and Eirika in particular does need it for the chapter 18 clear. And Ephraim is going to see some use in chapter 18 as well, where he does appreciate the boost to his stats. Chapter 17 is a simple kill boss, though the boss Leon is very bulky and starts at the top right part of the map. All we need to do is warp someone in who can fly and kill him from 2 range, which in our case will be Tana. I give Ephraim a kill, though I honestly should have given Seth one to do a certain funny strategy later, but I was too lazy to redo the entire late game just to pull that off. Lute and Mulder used Barrier just because they were so close to leveling up. It's completely unnecessary, and in fact, neither of their stats even matter anymore. Sally warps Tana forward to kill the boss, and he'll use his second action supplied by Tethys to use Silence for a little bit of extra EXP. He's at 27 magic and he needs to hit 28 magic by turn 2 of the next map. Tana rigs a Pierce crit to kill Leon, that'll be chapter 17 in one turn. At the end of the map, we get the green Falconite Cyrene, who has terrible stats but is needed for the chapter 18 clear, the rescue staff for keeping the civilians safe, the S-rank bow Nidhogg, which we can't use with anyone, and the S-rank lance Vidafnir, which we will use. Chapter 18 is the clear we've been building up to for the whole run, and is the reason this LTC has even bothered with training Sally and Lute. It's a route map with a lot of passive enemies, and the fastest clear requires us to be very efficient with our actions. For the longest time, people thought this map could only be 3-turned on Ephraim route due to him having 1 to 2 range while Eirika lacks it. But it turns out a 3-turn on Eirika route is possible as well. It just requires higher staff ranges and trading up more staffers in general. The clear is sort of a permutation of the Ephraim 3-turn of this map. We reassign units who cannot do particular jobs to take up tasks that they can otherwise handle. We'll bring all of our flyers, 2 paladins, Archer as a dedicated rescue staff user, Sally as our dedicated warper, and Lute as our main purge user. However, our staffers will use purge as well, and Lute was trained to seize Dave so she can use Hammerne in the middle of this map. We'll also pull out some low-use javelins to allow switching weapons and to manipulate the AI of 2 of the Gargants to suicide into us instead of trying to cast stone. Much like the Ephraim route clear, we need a Falconite, but we promoted both Vanessa and Tana to Wyverns. Thankfully, Sally has the con to carry Cyrene, letting her play the role of the lightweight flyer. We start by rescuing Franz forward with Arthur. Arthur doesn't use his full movement because we want Sally to end his turn on a particular square after warping Franz, and thankfully, Arthur doesn't need his full movement, and Sally has enough warp range that he can accept the loss of the square. Seth takes out one of the eggs and equips the Audhumla. He needs to have less bulk than Franz, which is easy even with the res boost the sword gives him. Tana flies up to take out another egg that is in our way. Eggs give a flat 50 EXP when killed. Cyrene's turn 1 was free to use a pure water to let her no-sell the moguls she'll fight later. Eirika rescued her and cantered to a spot where Cyrene could be taken by Sally, and Ephraim could be warped to the right to handle the set of 3 eggs there. Vanessa and Carmack rescue dropped Eirika forward for the next turn. Sally then gave Cyrene to Franz and warped him to the edge of his range and leveled up, hitting 28 magic right on time for next turn. Because Cyrene's stats are so bad, she can't be trusted to fight the Gargants like her counterpart would in the Ephraim route LTC. So we have to use Franz for this job instead. Warp is now back down to 1 use, and Loot repairs it back, giving us 5 more uses for the rest of the playthrough and breaking Hammerne. We need to rig for this enemy phase. Franz needs to have a 1-use javelin to get the boss to attack with Demon Surge, which can be countered, and needs a critical hit to one-shot her. This deals with 1 out of the 3 Gargants on this map. Gargoyle has a 50% chance of not attacking, which simply would not do for our clear, and it's just some unnecessary RNG. Cyrene started with a 1-use javelin because we wanted her to not kill that mogul. Franz's second javelin had 4 uses, and that mogul got it down to 3 uses. The reason Seth needed less bulk than Franz is so that Shadowshot Gargan would go south and attack him over Franz. Cyrene not killing the mogul caused the Gargan to attack her from 2 spaces below, which means she can fly to safety next turn. Sally needed 28 magic because he needs to warp Eirika a full 14 squares on this turn. Arthur rescues Vanessa forward so she could reach the Shadowshot Gargan. Loot switches to Purge duty, starting with the egg on the cliff to the right. We also need to warp Seth forward to add an extra body killing eggs in the top left part of the map. Cyrene uses her full move to get out of Gargant range. And Franz's javelin is now down to 2 uses after he destroys that egg. Ephraim switches to Sigmund so he can kill the Bales, and for some reason that Gargoyle, who does have a javelin and a Toxin lance, ends up attacking him from 1 range on this enemy face. Eirika needed that giant warp and her full movement as a promoted unit to reach that egg on this turn. Seth could kill either this egg or the egg to the top left of Eirika. I just had him kill this egg to flex the giant warp that he got. This egg hatches to a Gargan, and its AI on the turn that it hatches is set to attack units without moving. This causes it to suicide into Sally, who does have weapon triangle disadvantage against it. Killing this mogul brings Franz's javelin down to 1 use, which will convince the Gargan to suicide into him. Those lava tiles do 10 damage, but thankfully none of our units uh, get killed by them. On the final turn, everyone except Tethys kills an egg, with Loot killing 2. Honestly, this is really the only map in the late game that's even remotely challenging to LTC, and I'm glad for it. Who would have thought that Loot saved a turn? Cyrene equips the Killer Lance because that Gargoyle that just reinforced in is gonna go for her, and she needs a Killer Lance crit to kill him. She, she can't quite one round him with the Silver Lance. Group of eggs to the right is quite far off and would be difficult for our units to get to. So Purge really comes in handy for deleting them. If you work out the math for the action economy on this map, Loot is able to use the Hammerne staff because she has one free action. And on Ephraim route, you would not have a free action to use Hammerne, which is why you need to start this map with 5 uses on the warp staff so it doesn't break. But the trade-off is that you get to use that extra action to use the rescue staff, which helps because on Ephraim route, Molder has to be the dedicated rescue staff user, and he cannot have B light by this point to use Purge. Most of the enemies simply die to our powerful 100% growth units, and that will be chapter 18 in 3 turns. Chapter 19 is a Fog of War kill boss and features a brand new strategy. Since we use an extra warp use over the old run in Chapter 15, we need to save a warp use somewhere, and that somewhere is this map, where we will achieve the same one turn clear, but instead with the one rescue staff use that went unused in the old run. Saleh first exposes the boss Riev with a torch use and gets danced to refresh his action. Most FE8 LTCs warp in a boss killer to handle them. However, we have a rescue staff use left over and a very powerful anima magic user in Saleh, letting us go about it in another way. There are some treasure chests on this map, and importantly, the right treasure room has a chest containing the bolting tome, and has a wall that's only one tile wide separating it from us. We will resort to packing units around our rescue staff user to rescue Renak past the wall so he can convoy warp bolting. This breaks the rescue staff. Eirika hands off bolting to Saleh, and he one-shots Riev with the bolting crit to complete the map in one turn. At the end of the map, we get the S-rank Light Tome, Ivaldi, which we never use, the S-rank Latona, which we never use, and a Light Brand, which we never use. Chapter 20 is the last seas map with a whole lot of terrain. We have the warp staff though. On Ephemera, because of our limited staff range, a one-turn clear of this map requires 3 warp uses, which we would not be able to do. But thanks to Sally's capped 28 magic, we can do it with just 2. We need to warp a flying boss killer, here, Tana, first. And then we let Eirika move a little closer. And then we dance for her to refresh her action. And then Sally will use his 14 range, which lets him just barely get Eirika onto the central area, leaving the warp staff with exactly 1 use left. Tuna uses the Dragon Spear since she doesn't have S lances, and with 3x effectiveness, the Dragon Spear has the same might as Vidafnir. And she kills with a crit. And Eirika will seize to complete the map in 1 turn. The endgame of FE8 is a couple of boss kills. Both Leon and Prometheus are very bulky. We won't get preparations for the second half, which is why we're setting up our deployment order in a particular way. Ephraim takes the speed wing so he can double for Mortis, though in the end I end up not really taking advantage of it. Tana finally hits S lances with that kill. I would have loved to use Seth to kill Leon, but it turns out he's 1 point of strength shot, and I didn't want to go back to chapter 17 to fix that. So we instead used Sally as our boss killer. We could have gotten a Pierce crit with the Wyvern as an alternative solution as well. Sally needs a double Excalibur crit to kill Leon. We will use our final use of Warp to get Sally to the tile in front of him. With that, that'll be Endgame Part 1 in 1 turn. Mortis is really bulky, making the Sacred Twins the only weapons that can really damage him. He's also really fast, making it difficult to double him, and has a lot of luck, making it hard for most units to even pull crit on him. Ephraim took the Speedwing so he could double him, but then to do the kill that I wanted, it turns out I only wanted Ephraim to hit once, so you get to see him missing. I just went with one possible clear that didn't require crits, and let me do one final flex that I think honors a lot of people's experience with FE8. That was me anti-rigging an Excalibur crit. And the finishing blow will be dealt by a unit who didn't necessarily dominate this playthrough, but he does dominate most playthroughs of this game. That will be Endgame Part 2 in one turn, wrapping up this playthrough. Well, it's done. Eirika route full recruitment done in 68 turns. This proves that Eirika route and Emblem route have the same turn flow under full recruitment. I hope you had fun watching.